Imagine waking up before the sun has even decided whether it wants to rise. The sky outside your window, if you can even call it a window, it's more of a hole in the wall stuffed with oiled cloth, is the color of a bruise. It's cold. Not the "oh, I should grab a jacket" kind of cold. It's the kind of cold that gets inside your bones and reminds you that your body is a temporary thing. You don't have a phone to check. No alarm went off. A rooster screamed somewhere nearby, and that was your alarm. That was always your alarm. You are a medieval farmer, and this is your day. Every single exhausting, brutal, surprisingly complex minute of it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to look at a loaf of bread very differently. I promise you that. The year is somewhere around 1280. We're in rural England, though it could just as easily be France, or the German territories, or the plains of Poland. The details shift, but the bones of this life are the same across most of Western Europe. You are a villain, not a villain, though the word shares a root, and that tells you something already. A villain is a serf, a peasant bound to the land of a lord. You don't own the strip of field you work. You don't own the house you sleep in. In the most literal sense, you don't even fully own yourself. You owe your lord labor, usually 2 or 3 days a week working his land for free, and the rest of your time is theoretically yours. To work your own strips of land, to survive, to somehow feed your family. This is the deal. This has always been the deal. Your father lived this way, and his father before him, and nobody in your village can quite imagine a world where it works differently, because no one has ever seen one. Your home is a longhouse, one room. One fire pit in the middle with no chimney, just a hole in the thatched roof that smoke drifts toward when it feels like it, and doesn't when it doesn't. You share this space with your wife, your 3 children, and quite possibly 1 or 2 goats and a pig, especially in winter, because their body heat helps keep the temperature survivable. The smell is something a modern person would find incomprehensible. You have never found it strange. This is simply what the world smells like. You get up. There is no breakfast yet. Breakfast, in the way we understand it, a dedicated meal in the morning, isn't really a thing for you. You might eat later, mid-morning, if the day goes well and there's something to eat. Right now, you drink some water from a clay jug, splash a bit on your face, and you're out the door while it's still dark, because there is an enormous amount of work to do, and the sun waits for no one, least of all you. October. You are in the middle of plowing season. Your lord's fields need turning before the hard frosts lock the ground, and today is one of your obligatory labor days, which means you will spend the morning working for him and not for yourself. You go to collect the ox, 1 ox, shared among 3 families in your village, because none of you could afford one alone. The animal is enormous, smells terrible, and is completely indifferent to your existence. You attach it to a heavy wooden plow with an iron tip, which is one of the most valuable pieces of equipment in the entire village. The iron alone cost more than most people in your community will ever hold in their hands at one time. Plowing is not what you might picture if you've only ever seen a flat field. Medieval farmland is divided into long, thin strips. Each family works several scattered strips across different fields, which spreads the risk of bad soil and bad weather. The strips follow a ridge and furrow pattern, raised beds separated by small drainage channels, and turning an ox and a heavy plow at the end of each strip is genuinely hard physical work. The plow bites into the earth and you walk behind it, pushing, guiding, cajoling the ox, fighting the ground for every inch. By the time the sun is fully up, you have been working for 2 hours and you are already sweating despite the cold. Here's something that might surprise you. You are not uneducated in any practical sense. You know things. You know the soil of every strip of land in your area intimately, which corners drain poorly, which spots get the most sun, where the clay gets sticky in spring. You know the cycles of the moon and whether that matters for planting. You believe it does, and honestly, the jury of history is still out on some of that. You know which wild plants along the hedgerows are edible, which ones are medicinal, which ones will kill you. You know how to read weather from clouds, from the behavior of animals, from the ache in your knees, This knowledge has been passed down through generations, and it is dense and specific and valuable. You are not a simple person. You are a deeply knowledgeable person operating in an extremely unforgiving system. The Lord's reeve, essentially a manager, usually himself a peasant elevated slightly above the others, walks the field and watches. He is making sure you are working at full capacity. If you slow down too much, he will notice. The relationship between villagers and the reeve is complicated, somewhere between resentment and grudging respect, because the reeve is one of yours, but also now, partly theirs. Medieval social structures are full of these uncomfortable in-between positions. Mid-morning, you get a break. Your wife has sent your eldest child, 7 years old, already working. Children in this era do not have a childhood in the modern sense, with a hunk of dark bread and a small piece of hard cheese. You eat standing up. The bread is heavy, dense, made from rye or barley rather than wheat, which is the expensive stuff. It has a slightly sour taste from the fermentation process used to make it rise. It is not delicious. It is fuel. You eat every bite and you are still hungry when you're done. Water. You drink water from a stream that runs near the field. You have no idea about germ theory, but you've learned through generations of painful experience that water from moving streams is safer than stagnant pools, and that ale, weak ale, low alcohol, brewed from grain, is actually safer than most standing water because the brewing process kills things that would otherwise kill you. You will drink ale later. For now, the stream. Back to work. The afternoon stretches. The ox is tired. Your back hurts in a way that is becoming familiar and permanent. A deep ache that started when you were maybe 16 and has never fully left since. You are 26 years old. In this era, that means you are solidly middle-aged. Your body already shows it. And right here, in the middle of this story, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. I make these videos every week, living a full day inside a different life from history. And if you've gotten this far and you're genuinely into it, you are exactly who this channel is for. Hit subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, and you'll never miss one of these again. Okay, back to 1280. You finish your obligatory labor around midday. Now, theoretically, the rest of the day is yours. In practice, it's also full of work, just different work. You head back toward your own strips of land. You also need to plow, but first you stop at the village mill. The mill is one of the most important and most hated institutions in your life. It belongs to the Lord. You are required to bring your grain here to be ground into flour. You are required to pay for this service, usually a portion of your grain, taken as payment. You cannot grind your own grain at home. If you tried and were caught, you could be fined. The mill is a monopoly enforced by law, and every farmer in the village knows it, resents it, and uses it anyway because there is no alternative. The miller himself is a figure of deep suspicion in medieval village life, accused constantly of skimming extra grain, of adjusting the weights, of getting slightly richer on your slight loss. You eye the miller as you hand over your sack. He eyes you back. This is the nature of your relationship. You take your flour home. Your wife is there, managing everything else that needs managing, tending the kitchen garden, a small plot right next to the house where she grows leeks, onions, beans, and cabbages. She is also watching the younger children and has been since before dawn. She works more hours than you do, in a way that history has systematically failed to record properly. Her labor is invisible in most of the documents that survive from this era because it wasn't transactional in the ways clerks and lords thought worth writing down. But it is what keeps your family alive. The afternoon moves into harder work. You plow your own strips, pushing through the October light until it starts to fail. At some point, you stop to repair a fence along the common pasture, a shared responsibility of the village. And if it breaks and your neighbor's sheep gets into your crops, there will be arguments that can fester for years. Medieval village social dynamics are dense and long-memoried. You do not want enemies here. You live 50 meters from these people. You will live 50 meters from these people for the rest of your life. There is a common understanding among historians now that medieval peasants were not living in the unbroken grinding misery that earlier narratives sometimes implied. There were festivals, and there were many of them. The church calendar is studded with feast days, saints' days, religious observances, and on those days, you don't work. You drink, you dance, you play games. The village green sees rough ball games that are something between football and organized chaos, with no fixed boundaries and no real rules except that you don't kill anyone. Women and men both participate in community dances. There are traveling entertainers, storytellers, musicians. Your life has pleasure in it. It also has ale, considerable amounts of ale. But today is not a feast day. Today is a working day, and the list of things that need doing before winter arrives is enormous. You need to check on the small vegetable storage pit behind your house, a hole in the ground lined with straw where root vegetables will be packed to survive the cold months. You need to make sure the thatch on one corner of the roof is properly patched, because you noticed it was thinning, and a wet winter coming through there would be catastrophic. You need to finish turning your second strip before the ground freezes hard. The animals need to be brought in as darkness falls. This is non-negotiable. A lost pig is a major economic disaster for a family of your means. You herd them back into the shared lower section of the longhouse, and you can feel the warmth shifting slightly as their body heat joins yours. Supper is the main meal of the day, eaten in the dim light of a single tallow candle and the fire. Pottage. Almost always pottage. A thick stew made from whatever is available. Today it's dried peas, some of the leeks from the garden, a small amount of salted pork. Your wife has been cooking it slowly over the fire since mid-afternoon, and it is genuinely good, dense, warming, a little salty, slightly smoky from the fire. You eat from a wooden bowl with a spoon carved from the same material, sitting on a bench. Your children eat in order of age. The youngest gets the best portion, because the youngest is the most vulnerable. And this is not a time or place that has the luxury of equal distribution. After supper, there is mending. There is always mending. Your wife spins by the firelight. Spinning is constant. One of those background tasks of medieval life that occupied hands even when eyes and minds were elsewhere. You repair a leather strap on the plow harness that has been giving you trouble. Your eldest child, the 7-year-old, has already fallen asleep on the straw mat in the corner. The younger two follow shortly. The candle burns low, and you make a calculated decision about how much of it you can afford to use. Because candles cost something, and nights are long. You pray. This is real and genuine and central to how you understand your existence. The church is not a background institution in your life. It is the architecture of meaning inside which everything else happens. The priest in your village is your intermediary with a universe that is enormous and dangerous and largely inexplicable by the tools available to you. You pray for a mild winter. You pray for your children's health. You pray for the spring to come clean and early. The plague was 30 years ago. The Black Death swept through and took maybe half the people in England with it. And while you were born after it, your parents lived through it. And its shadow is still in every conversation about illness, every cough that lingers, every neighbor who seems a little pale. You pray with some knowledge of what God can take. Sleep comes fast. It comes fast because your body has worked with a completeness that modern sedentary life simply cannot replicate. Every muscle has been used. You have walked several miles without thinking about it. You have lifted, pulled, guided, repaired, hauled. You sleep on a straw mattress with your wife beside you and children nearby, covered with a rough wool blanket, and you sleep deeply because your body has no choice. Sometime in the middle of the night, you wake briefly. This is actually normal in the pre-industrial world, this segmented sleep pattern. 2 sleeps with a quiet waking period in between, where you think, pray, sometimes talk softly with your wife, and then you sleep again. And in the morning, before the sun decides whether it wants to rise, a rooster screams, and you do it again. This was one day, not an exceptional day, not a crisis day, not a festival day, a Tuesday, a normal medieval Tuesday. And if you're sitting somewhere comfortable watching this, I want you to hold that for a moment. that the bread on your table, the warmth in your room, the fact that your back doesn't ache from sunup to sundown just to eat, these things were not always obvious. They were not always guaranteed. Somewhere in your family tree, this was somebody's life. Maybe every day was this life. I find that extraordinary, and I find it worth spending time in, even if just in a video. If this kind of thing resonates with you, if you like spending 20 minutes actually living inside a different world instead of just reading a paragraph about it, then please subscribe to the channel. It genuinely means everything for a channel like this one. Hit the like button because it tells YouTube this video is worth showing to people who haven't found us yet. Leave a comment telling me whose day you want to live next. I read every single one and they directly shape what I make. And if you want to go further, sharing the video is one of the most powerful things you can do. We're trying to build something here that takes history seriously and makes it feel like something you can actually touch. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. That means you're the right kind of person. See you in the next one.